So let's study physics. Okay, let's study physics today. We'll start with refraction through prism. So this is a little bit not tough, but it's confusing. Okay, so first let's understand what a prism is, right? Prism. So let's understand what a prism is. So basically, a prism is like, if you see from one side, like if you say straight in, you'll see a triangular shaped structure, right? But in like 3D structure, you can find that prism is something like this. It is like one side here, other side here, front side, back side, and a down side. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides in a prism. 5 sides in a prism. So I'll draw it in like draw a better diagram for this. So basically you have the front face like this. It's a triangular face, right? A triangular face. Then what you have is, it actually has a rectangular side surfaces. So you have one rectangular side surface here. The same thing in the other side. So the other side of this rectangle, there is another rectangle, which is like the shape ma basa, right? And there is the front triangle and the back triangle. So this is the front triangle, this is the back triangle, right? So, and there is a bottom face as well. So bottom rectangular face as well. So something like this. So yeah. So this is a prism now. So we have a front face, there is a back face. There are two left and right faces. Left face, there is a right face, and there is a bottom face. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 faces in a prism. Okay, so out of the 5 faces in a prism, 3 are rectangles. So the right face, the one that is falling like this, like face, this one is a rectangle. The other one is also a rectangle, and the bottom face is also a rectangle. So there are 3 rectangular faces and 2 triangular faces. So front face and the back face is the triangular faces, and the 3 rectangular faces are like 2 faces like this, and 1 face that is below the 2 rectangular faces, right? So this is what a prism looks like. So a prism is basically 2 triangular faces, front and back, and 3 rectangular faces, 2 on each side and 1 in the bottom. So I'll draw a better diagram now, a simple 2D diagram. So the best thing we can do is represent a prism in 2 dimensions, right? So we can represent a prism like, is this screen visible? Is the white screen visible? Okay. So the best thing we can do is, this will be smaller now. I'll need to make a bigger prism. So I'll need a bigger prism. And what we do is, we assume that the light is falling on these 2 surfaces, right? So these 2 surfaces, the left side and the right side surfaces, rectangular surfaces, are considered to be the refracting surfaces. Refracting surface. So why a refracting surface, you say? That's because refraction happens on these 2 sides of the prism. So you do it as side ma refraction, right? So we consider the refraction to happen on these 2 sides of the prism. So that's the reason why we consider these 2 sides to be the refractive surface of the prism. Okay. Yeah, the 2 sides, the angle ma बसेको छ नि यस्तो दुईटा. So these 2 are the refracting surfaces. मेरो हातले हेर न. These 2 sides are the refracting sides. Okay. Open your book, page number 83. You can find it there. This one, concise physics book. It's very simple to understand. So you have like these 2 rectangular surfaces, right? So this is the refracting surface. This is the first refracting surface, and the other side one is the second refracting surface. So there's nothing like very new thing that will be taught here. So there's nothing new. Everything is taught like refraction. Okay, what is refraction? We started with the basic property of refraction, right? So refraction is basically bending of light rays from its original path when it comes comes in the interface between two mediums. When there are two media, like two mediums, whatever you say, media or medium. So whenever there are like two media and there is a separation between the two media, then when a light ray coming from one media strikes the separation, then the light will tend to bend its path, right, depending upon what medium it's going in. So if it's going to a denser medium, then it will tend to move towards the normal, and if it's going to a rarer medium, a thinner medium, then it is like it'll be bending away from the normal, right? So now we'll consider everything outside the prism to be air, right? So everything outside the prism is air, and everything that is inside the prism is glass. Okay, so everything inside the prism is glass and everything outside the prism is air. So now what we do is, let us assume a beam of ray, a ray of light, or beam of ray, whatever you say. So this is a ray of light, right? It's incident from air. So this ray of light is incident from air, right? So it is hitting the surface of the prism. Now since this surface is like inclined this way, isko normal pani, it'll be 90 degree with the surface on, right? So this is the normal of this surface, because the surface is inclined, it's not straight like this. So if it was like flat on the surface, then the normal would be straight above and below, right? But this is not straight, like flat on the surface. It's like bent, it's like in an angle this way, right? It's at a particular angle this way. So because of which its normal will be perpendicular. Normal is every time the line that is perpendicular to its surface. So since its surface is here, it's slanting, its normal will be like this, because this angle has to be 90 degree, right? So this is the normal now. So now since it's going from air to glass, it's going from a rarer medium to a denser medium, it'll move towards the normal. It'll come down and move towards the normal. Not to this extent, let's say it's moving a little bit towards normal. So this is the actual path that it should have taken. Let's suppose the prism was not introduced in its path. So this is the actual path that the light should have taken now. But since it's moving from air to glass, it's moving from a rarer medium to a denser medium, the ray will just fall back down. It'll move towards the normal, right? This one is the normal. So this ray is the normal ray, right? And this line is the line that represents the path of the light ray if the glass was not there. If you didn't have the prism here, the light would go straight up. But now since we are moving from a rarer medium to a denser medium, the light ray that was incident at a particular angle, let's say I1, incident angle I1, will be refracted by an angle R1. Now it will move towards the normal. It's very, very clear from this, because it's moving from a rarer medium to a denser medium. So it will move towards the normal and continue in this medium, because this medium is glass throughout. It will continue in this medium throughout, right? It will not deviate much now. Now when it reaches here, now again it is at an interface between two mediums. So there is glass here and there is air here. So again what you do is you draw a normal for this surface. So this is the normal of the surface, and this light, since it's coming from a denser medium and it's going to a rarer medium, it will move away from the normal. It will move away from the normal, right? So this should be done. This is given as I2, this is given as R2. So it's very simple. A ray of light coming from air strikes the separation between the medium of air and the glass inside the prism, and because of which this ray will be deviated towards the normal. It'll move towards the normal, right? And since it's completely glass inside, it'll continue in the same path. Then it comes to an interface between glass and air again, right? There is an interface between glass and air again. So you draw a normal again. Now since it's going from a denser to a rarer medium, it'll move away from the normal, right? It's moving away from the normal. So it comes out in this direction. So it moves in from this direction, it comes out from this direction, right? So now if you trace the line back, yes, Bani Barada, tell me. Yes. This incident ray. No, this is incident ray for this medium. I haven't called this a refracted ray. So I haven't told you anything about this. You can name whatever you want. It's like on you to name anything you want, right? But you should be clear with the concept. your light is out this and it's refracting at this medium. So you can call this an incident ray, you can call this a refracted ray, you can call this a refracted ray, doesn't matter. That naming is very, very secondary, okay? It's not required. It's not that important in this aspect right now. So your aspect, it's not important. You can call this a refracted ray, you can call this an incident ray, it doesn't matter. So only thing what matters right now is understanding the thing. Like it's going in, it's refracting once, again at the interface of this medium, it's refracting again, okay? That's the only thing you need to know right now. Yes. Exactly same. For that you should be clear with the concept of normal. Normal one it should be normal to the surface, right? So we have a surface. Your prism ko surface kasto chha. So prism ko surface esto chha. So we have a surface like this. So normal should be this direction only, not straight up or straight down. So if it was like the surface was flat, if the surface was flat, then yes. Yes, okay. Yes. I can't hear you. Your voice is like totally cracking. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I still can't figure out what you said. Just just type it down. Type it. Can't the normal be same for both the refraction? Okay, so I'll just see whether that is possible or not. So both the refraction, okay? So first refraction is happening here, right? So refraction is happening between this air here and this glass here, right? And the second refraction is happening here with this glass and this air. So if these are two different surfaces, right? So if I have two different surfaces like this, I can't have a common normal for both, right? So I can't say this is the normal for both the surfaces. So each surface will have its own normal, because normal when I go the ray that is perpendicular to the surface, right? So I can't say that I can like I'll draw two lines, two different surfaces, and I make a line this which is a normal to both the lines. No, that is not possible. Since the refraction is happening at two different places, so the refraction I am not like telling you that both the refraction is happening at this point only. No, only one refraction is happening at this point, the second refraction is happening at this point. So this clearly means that there are two surfaces, right? There are two different surfaces and there are two different normals. So every surface will have its own normal, right? So you can't have two surfaces with a common normal. No, that is possible only like if you have two surfaces which are parallel to each other. So these are two surfaces, they'll have like same normal. Yeah, that's fine. That is totally correct. There are two surfaces which are parallel to each other and there is a normal which is common to both the surfaces. Yes, that's correct. That can happen. But this is not the case here, because these two are not parallel to each other, right? They are at an angle to each other. They are meeting at one point and they are going away at one point, right? They are meeting at one point and they're going away at one point. So this clearly means that these two are not parallel. So is this clear? Okay. So that is the reason why we don't consider normals to be like the same. Like we don't consider a single normal for both the refraction, because there are two different surfaces we are talking here about, right? So we are talking about two different surfaces. So we have to talk about two different normals. Okay. So this dotted line represents the line of this incident ray if it did not refract, if refraction was not happening. So this was the line that I drew, which represents the like extension of this incident ray. And this is the dotted line that I extend it back here. This is the line of this refracted ray, the second refracted ray, after it emerges out of the prism, right? So it comes and meets at this point, and there we have an angle here. There is an angle formed here. This angle is represented by a symbol called delta and is known as angle of deviation. Angle of deviation. So this angle of deviation gives you an idea. So I'll mark this angle again. Okay, I think it's not clear. So we have like two lines, right? So this is the line that we extended for the original incident ray. So this is the original incident ray. Like we extended this line, assuming that like if there was no glass there, and this is the line that we extended from the second refracted ray after all the refraction happened. So there is an angle found between these two. So this angle is known as delta. This sign is called delta, and it is the angle of deviation. So angle of deviation means by putting a prism in the path of light, by what angle did the original incident ray and the final emergent ray, like by what angle did the original incident ray deviate? So kati angle machi it bent in. So the original incident ray bent in at some angle, right? Because if it had not bent, it would not come out in this direction. So the light is going in this direction and is emerging out in this direction. So which means that the light has bent to a certain extent, right? It has bent from its original path. So that bend is known as angle of deviation. So the amount in which, or the angle in which the original incident ray bent, right, after both the refraction happened, is known as the angle of deviation, right? So you should be very clear about the notation of this. This is known as delta, right? This is the angle of deviation. It's called delta. And angle of deviation is basically the angle between the incident ray, original incident ray, and the final refracted ray. So kati angle machi it bent. By what angle did the original angle of incident bend or like deviate is known as the angle of deviation, right? So is this clear? Is this clear, or should I explain it again? Okay. So wait, where is my screen? So what is happening here is, so I'll draw a simplified diagram. I'll erase all this. So there's a prism. So there is a ray of light coming in. It's bending, first refraction, second refraction. So I like extend this ray of light straight into the path where it would have taken if no refraction had happened. And this is the ray of light that I extend from the final refracted ray, and I get an angle here, right? So this angle is known as angle of deviation, which means by this angle, so this ray bent by that angle. So this ray is going in this direction, it's coming out in this direction, right? So it has bent to a certain angle. It has bent a certain angle, and this angle is known as angle of deviation. It's simply this one. If you simplify and make a diagram, this is the angle of deviation, right? But since there are two refractions happening, we need to extend these lines and draw, like make an angle here. So this angle is angle of deviation. Angle of deviation, it is basically the angle by which the original incident ray bent, right? Kati angle machi bent by, so that the final emergent ray is coming out in this direction, right? So is that clear? So the simple way of naming the rays for prism related concepts. So in prism we like denote this ray as the incident ray, okay, this as the final refracted ray, no sorry, this is the emergent ray, the ray that emerges out, right, emergent ray. And this ray is known as the refracted ray. So here the refraction happens, right? Refraction is happening here. So this is the refracted ray. So we call the first ray, the ray that is incident, to be the incident ray, right? The final ray that is coming out to be known as the emergent ray, the ray that emerges out. And the ray that is in between here is known as the refracted ray, right? So is this clear? The notation, is it clear? Okay. So so this is it for this part. Should I start the second part, or should I not? Wait, let me see. Okay, so I'll give you guys a homework. So this is a glass prism, right? It is enclosed inside a glass block. So this is a glass block, okay? A ray of light is incident like this. So I want you to send me the answer maybe by tomorrow. What will be the emergent ray? So I don't need the angle, so I can, like, I just want a rough diagram, right? I don't want the angles or anything. So let's say I'll give you an angle as well. Wait. So you can't ask me anything, okay? I'll not answer anything related to this question. I'll just give you a plain question. You have to like figure it out yourself what the answer should be. So this angle is, let's say, 45 degree. I'm giving you a 45 degree angle here. Okay, so this is the 45 degree, and this is a glass prism. So everything inside is glass. The surface they can layer bitra saman sabai glass cha, and this glass prism is enclosed inside a glass block. So block भनेको 3D है, यस्तो block हुन्छ. So it is enclosed inside a glass block. So this prism is inside a glass block like this. Okay. Yeah, so this is something like this. So a ray of light is incident on the prism. It is incident at an angle of 45 degrees, right? This is the normal. So I want you to send me the answer of this by tomorrow evening, okay? So what will be the emergent ray? What will be the refracted angle? What will be the deviation angle? Angle of deviation, whatever it is, right? So I want this answer by tomorrow.